I mean, so immigration strikes right now as a sense of, I think it becomes a real issue when you have a notion of a sort of defined nation state, a sort of country, and a sort of with borders and such. In a sense, with immigration is like to deal with how many people you let into your own family, right? A family has a sort of unity and meaning to it based on a mother and a father and children, and then it has an extended sense and all sort of thing. So the family has a sort of nature to it. But I think with nations, it's harder to see some of that kind of unity to them, right? So what's a nation? And historically, we're used to nations having, they just got boundaries and they've got laws and all of this regimes. But that's, of course, has developed historically over time, such that in, say, biblical times, you talk about the nation of Israel, but what is the nation of Israel? It's has a sort of geographical location, but it changes back and forth over time. It has a sort of regime and sort of laws, and it has a people related to it in different ways, hierarchically, people who are the Jews, and then, of course, those around. So in a way, we want to think that immigration is not, in a sense, it's new in how it manifests itself, in particularly with nation states and nation states that can control their borders better, that can keep tabs on their people, surveillance, all this kind of stuff. We have ID cards, for instance. No one in Israel.
The Middle Ages was being asked for their real ID.
Yeah. First century, you had to go to the census, right? That's sort of a bizarre kind of experience. But like the Middle Ages, no one had ID cards. So immigration becomes a serious problem for us today in a way that it wasn't before, partly because of how we view ourselves as nations and how precise we can be about that. Whereas you could let it be a little more, vague in a sense in the boundaries. So I think it's nice to situate in the sense of what's here is a national boundaries and national identity, and then also just people in general, and realize that it's not that nations have always been here and are always this kind of thing in the way that a family was.
Right.
And yet at the same time, there is something about a nature that has a unity to it that you want to make sure is kept up in the sense of the common good. So the common good of the nation versus the common good of the family. But I think it's good to just remind ourselves to not to reify, which is to make a reality of something that might not be as clear about nations and borders and stuff right off the bat. So then we can approach it, as Aristotle says, this science and this question with the right sense of precision.
Father Bonaventure, if you had the choice between holding a toad and subscribing to a YouTube channel, what would you choose?
Subscribe to a toad holding a YouTube channel.
Oh my gosh. Please subscribe to a toad holding a YouTube channel, especially if it's ours. Cheers.